What's up, everybody? Welcome to Podcast Now. I'm Alex. In this video, I want to talk about Ghost of Tsushima. A couple new details have come out on this game. A couple of interviews have basically been given out by creative director Nate Fox. And there's a bit of information that I want to take from that, kind of give my analysis, my impressions of it. Really quickly, before I jump into this, I do just want to promote our Discord, as I've done a couple times in the past. If you guys want to check it out, it'll be in the description below. A lot of you guys have joined, and you guys, I really do appreciate it. You guys are truly awesome. We're really building a community over there, and it's awesome to see. So if you guys want to join, there's a lot of people there that talk PlayStation as well, PlayStation exclusively. So definitely give it a try if you feel like it. Now, Ghost of Tsushima, I think the biggest thing, and what obviously a lot of sites are running with this, is that it's 40 to 50 hours long. That is, Nate Fox talked about a lot of different things, and we're going to go into some of that stuff. And he actually specifically, I guess maybe not to mislead anybody, and even he said that, right? He doesn't want to mislead anybody. I think he was asked if it would be, like, does it sound right if you say it would take 40 to 50 hours? And he said yes. So he said, yes, absolutely, but I would highly recommend that everyone get off the main route and get lost on the island of Tsushima, since there is a lot to discover there. Now, I like that. Firstly, there is actually a couple things to talk about with that. So remember when we had the state of play, I had a lot of great things to say about it, right? I was really, really happy, really pleased with everything they showed, and there were some concerns still. People, especially even in the comments of that video, were saying, like, like there is stuff to do, but at the end of the game, what exactly you're going to do when the game is over, when the main story is over? Is there going to be enough to keep us in this world long term? And I think that's very fair, because even what we saw in the state of play, the world still kind of seems a little empty. Now, not entirely, and I don't even think, I think when the game comes out, maybe were they hiding stuff during the state of play? Yeah, sure. I honestly do think that's possible. So, firstly, you can take this as good news as well. It's in the ballpark of that amount of time. Now, a thing to keep in mind when developers tell you how long their games are is they never tell you the truth. Never. In fact, they always overshoot it. I don't know why this is the case. I know when we talked about it, in multiple videos on the channel, they lie all the time. Game developers lie. It's like a hobby of theirs. They do it all the time. And normally, it's not in a malicious way. They're doing it for some sort of, really to something in a positive way for you, that they don't want to spoil something or they want to keep something hidden. It's not in like a bad way, but they lie all the time. For some reason, this is a thing that happens, though. When they say how long it's going to take to beat their game, it's always over how long it actually takes. Sometimes you cut it in half. Sometimes you take off like 5 or 10 hours. So, and honestly, I do that. I really do believe that. So, and because it happens literally all the time. So when he says 40 to 50, I'm reading that 30 to 40. Just completely honestly, that's how I'm reading it. Now, with that being said, that's a lot. Horizon Zero Dawn, I didn't play it all the way through when it came out, but actually just recently, this year, 2020, like in February, I went back and I played through all of Horizon. And when it comes to open worlds, I like to try and do everything. That's why I actually have a really hard time beating open world games, right? Because it takes me just so long, because I literally try to do all the side quests, all the collectibles, all the, crafting, hunting, whatever there is in that game. I try and do it all. It took me around 30, a little bit more than 30 hours for Horizon. I think with the Frozen Wilds DLC included, it took me like 40 hours to do everything that I did. I didn't do everything, but it took me around 40 hours for Horizon and its DLC. So honestly, 30, 40, 50, if it does take that amount of time, that's good. I really do like that. I think that's a very meaty game. Now, again, the way he says it is a little concerning, though, because it definitely sounds like, hey, you're going to want to explore. Like, a lot of this game is exploration. So when I say 40 to 50 hours, I'm saying literally go around, go look at the water, go look at the grass, go look at all this stuff on the island of Tsushima. That's how you'll get to experience, it for that amount of time. Now, is that exactly what he's saying? No, but do you get what I'm kind of saying? I feel like this game will be full. This is a very positive quote. I don't think, based off what we saw in that state of play, it doesn't seem like, right, it's 40, 50 hours worth of stuff, but I think they were hiding some stuff. I'm sure there's stuff that they haven't talked about yet, or maybe they won't talk about until you actually get to play the game. So that is very good sign. They talked about how there's not going to be a morality system, so that was another thing. What we talked about for the longest time with Ghost of Tsushima is improving upon Infamous, because Sucker Punch, I think, was at the peak of their careers, or like literally when they were looked at as a dominant studio, one of the better Sony development studios, it was during the infamous 1 and 2 time. Okay, I don't really think there's any, I mean, I guess you could even say back with Sly Cooper, right? That's where they got their name. They were very, very good at making those Sly games. They went to Infamous, and then I think that's really where they stepped out and was like, man, this game is like next level stuff. Now, looking back at it, have they aged all that well? I think they've aged decently. And then obviously, again, Second Son was a pretty big failure. So what's the thing we've talked about for the longest time is, well, you got to improve upon what you've messed up. And looking back at the Infamous games, what are some things that haven't exactly been good? Well, the fact that the game does end really, really quick, that you can get in, get out, and do everything, or get in, do everything there is to do, and get out in pretty short time, for it being an open world, for there being side things, for there being collectibles, even though all those things are included, which again, could you say is maybe a worrisome sign for Ghost of Tsushima? Maybe. I mean, ultimately we have to play the game. But you got to do a lot of those things in Infamous, and you got done with them very, very quickly. So what would you expect for Ghost of Tsushima? Well, you want it to be much improved. And by the way, again, like I hope people aren't like twisting what I'm thinking. I'm insanely excited about Ghost of Tsushima. Okay, day one purchase for me easily. I'm gonna be playing it nonstop. I cannot wait for this game. So if you think that I'm sounding like really, really scared or worried, I mean, I'm concerned about certain things in this game, but ultimately it's not stopping me from purchasing it. We're going to be covering it on the channel. I mean, I'm very, very excited about this game, so I just want to make that clear. But it seems like they fixed that problem, but what's the other problem? But another thing you look back on in Infamous was that morality, where it's you do a good decision or you do a bad decision, and that's it. And it was very linear in that way, not very good. And obviously games have progressed since then. And I wouldn't necessarily fault them, because it was back in the era where those games were a little bit more common, right? And then after that, you got games that were very not black and white, right? They weren't just good or bad. So, them eliminating that completely, it makes sense. I don't think this game is about that at all. Again, basically, it's an island under siege, and you're taking it back in a way, right? There's camps, there's all these different things, and it's also, again, very, very heavily on exploration. They talked about how the katana is going to be your main weapon. There's going to be other things in there, including various gadgets, so you are going to be able to play with more than just the sword. And this wasn't in this article. They talked about the game's visuals, inspired by Legend of Zelda and Shadow of the Colossus. I think that's pretty fair. I think when you're playing I think in the state of plays that we've seen, right, especially like the grass and the wind, there's very much elements of both of those games. I think those are actually the two games that would come to mind. I think for me, it's Shadow of the Colossus a little bit more, but I can totally see how you see Legend of Zelda. Final thing, and again, it's not in this article, but they talked about how it's a very, very difficult combat system, that the sword combat is going to be very, very difficult. I kind of like that, and we talked about that again in the state of play, where I think I was seeing people like in the comments, like in the live chat when the state of play was going on, saying like, yeah, it kind of looks weird, like the sword play looks weird, and I get it. And like I said, we've talked about it. The sword, like the art of a sword, is very interesting. It's very, very different. It does, I think, in a way, look weird, right? And it doesn't look like very, very fancy. It doesn't look I think it looks smooth in its own way, but based off what we saw with the state of play, it doesn't look like the most difficult thing in the world. Although, if you told me, hey, Alex, when you go, like, if I didn't know, and I was going in this game, and you told me, hey, this game is going to be very, very difficult to play, like the sword combat is very hard to master, I'd believe you, because I think that if you go into this kind of world, and if it's going to be as realistic as they're trying to do it, and not insanely, but definitely in that way, it's going to be hard. It's definitely going to be hard. So I don't think it looked that and I mean, who am I to say that, right? Based off of what we've seen, it doesn't look the most difficult. That does not mean it's going to be super easy, though. Now, where you draw that line, is it going to be like Sekiro and Dark Souls and Bloodborne? Is it going to be like that level hard? I don't think so, and I also hope not, just because that's just not this kind of game. But also just from my own personal sanity, I'm not good at those games. I do really like playing difficult games. I love playing games like Sound Shapes and Resogun and Velocity 2X, and I try and play hard games, and then games like the Souls games and stuff. I like them. Actually, I'm good at all of them except for the Souls game. Neo, Bloodborne, Sekiro, all those games I'm just no good at. So again, maybe I'm just talking because I'm hoping that it's not too difficult. Ultimately, though, no, I do like a challenge. I honestly do like a challenge, and if the sword combat is really hard, I'm down for that. I'm down for learning about it because it does it look weird and maybe a little like funky in terms of how the different stances and the different countering and parrying and stuff. Yeah, it does look weird. We haven't really seen games do it all that often. Really, it's pretty rare that they do it, but it is different, and I think in a good way. And I think that if it does kind of come to life and the gameplay is different and difficult because it's different, I think people honestly will back it. It'll be a learning curve. It'll take a little bit of time. I'm sure it actually, honestly, if it is too difficult or if it is just difficult in general, without even saying like too difficult, right? If it's just harder, it is going to alienate some people. And there's just honestly nothing you can really do about that. That's just kind of the pill we all have to swallow, right? Some people may not be able to make it through. Gameplay is very important, obviously. Gameplay makes or breaks a game. You're not going to really play a game if it doesn't function, or if you're really, same thing with me. Like I won't play Sekiro all the way to the end, because if I keep dying, 2-3 hours in, how am I supposed to make it to the end, right? So some games just have that barrier. It's up to you, to get through them, or if you want to put yourself through them, that's completely up to you. But guys, let me know in the comments below. What do you think? Do you believe how long this game is going to be? Do you like all the new details that we've gotten on this game? Let me know. As always, make sure you guys are subscribed and have that bell icon turned on so you know when these videos go up. And I'll continue covering Ghost of Tsushima, guys. We're less than 2 months away at this point, so very, very exciting. More content. I'll be having more videos as the months progress, and then obviously when the game comes out, I'll be talking about it a ton on the channel. Okay, so thank you again so much for watching, and I'll see you all on the next video.